Welcome to another edition of Lamb School Noticings, coming to you from Purdue University in the College of Liberal Arts. I'm Mary Fran Matson, professor and interim head of the Brian Lamb School of Communication, and your host for Lamb School Noticings. Recently, the Lafayette Journal and Courier featured retired professor and former head of our school, Charlie Stewart, and his wife Jane in an article about their volunteer work with Casa. Casa is an acronym for Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and they advocate for children whose families are experiencing problems or are involved in the judicial system. Jane has been a volunteer for Casa for 15 years, and Charlie for 4 years. As Jane remarked in the article, these children need someone to stand up for them, to be their voice in court, and to look out for their best interests. That's what Casas do. What an admirable and important way to spend your retirement. Darla Gordon, one of our administrative assistants, tells me she's interested in being a Casa when she retires. The Lamb School and the Cyber Center are offering an interesting lecture this week. Howard Welsner, an associate professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Ohio University, will present a talk titled Agent Beyond Control: How Distributed Social Control in Computational Institutions Can Increase Organizational Fidelity and Reduce Corruption. Go to Lawson 1142 at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, February 19th to learn more. Thanks for inviting us to this lecture, Sarin. Professor Sarin Matei is the Scientific Director for Computational Social Science at Purdue's Cyber Center and is a professor in the Lamb School. In graduate student news, recruiting weekend is scheduled for Friday, February 28th through Sunday, March 2nd. Part of the weekend includes our Communication Graduate Student Association Conference on February 28th. Word is, one of our new faculty members who will be joining us in fall 2014 will be visiting that weekend and will attend the conference. Look forward to seeing and talking with you, Josh Scacco. One of our undergraduate classes had a special visitor last week. Mr. Chuck Armstrong, who recently retired as president of the Seattle Mariners, visited Professor Josh Boyd's sports PR class. Mr. Armstrong is a Purdue alum and friend and fraternity brother of Brian Lamb. Billy talked with Chuck and attended the class.
I went to school here, graduated in 1964 with a BS in industrial engineering. My ties to the College of Liberal Arts is that my daughter and her husband are English professors here. So Dorsey Armstrong and her husband Ryan Schneider have been professors here, I think, for the last 10 or 11 years. And Brian Lamb is one of my closest friends in the world. That I first met Brian in the fall of 1960 when I matriculated here to Purdue from Louisville, Kentucky. Brian grew up here in Lafayette, and we were fraternity brothers, and we've been close friends ever since. In 1973, my family and I lived in Long Beach, California, and Brian would visit occasionally, and he sat in our living room in 1973 and told me his dream, his vision for C-SPAN. And I said, "Are you nuts? How are you going to pull this off?" And after a lot of trying, he finally got Tip O'Neill to agree to televise the House of Representatives, and the Senate balked for a while, and then he got the Senate to come along, and he talked about he was going to send up a satellite, to which my wife said, "You're going to send up a satellite?" And he did, and I remember visiting him several times in Washington, and he took me out to the first satellite, and he could make a noise on it and blip it, whatever. And so since then, look what he's done with C-SPAN, and look what he's done for Purdue, and it's still one of my favorite channels. You know, he did book notes every Sunday for over 20 years, and he actually read every book that he did. He did a book a week. And it just kind of got on him. But no, I talked to Brian this morning, in fact, told him I was coming over here and asked if he had any words of wisdom for me before I came. First thing is that, how did I get to become president of a sports team? So we'll talk about that. How did a Purdue grad do that? And then Professor Boyd says he and the class have a particular interest in how we got our ballpark built, how you deal with government, how it was funded, how we got naming rights for it. And I want to leave a lot of time for Q&A because I'm not sure what the students are really going to be interested in. So if asked the right questions, I tend to give long answers. So we'll see how that goes.
Last question. Based upon your experience at Purdue and your obvious successes, what advice would you have for current students trying to pave their way in the world just coming out of Purdue?
Well, you know, it's hard. Things have changed. And I have a son who's 32. It has 2 technical degrees from Stanford. He's trying to follow his passion and do sketch comedy or write comedy. So I don't get this. My oldest child, I said, is a professor here, and my second child, also a daughter, works for a company called Cambridge Associates that does financial advising for mostly nonprofits and universities and so forth. So, no, I think kids are different today. I think you have to decide what it is you want to do, and I mean, I'm 71 and I still don't know what I want to do, but it's worked out.
Thanks for taking the time to share your insights, Chuck. Well, that's a wrap, but be sure to tune in next week when we switch up the scenery. If you have news or opportunities to share for a future edition of Lamb School Noticings, send them to me at mmatson@purdue.edu and stay in touch via Facebook, Twitter, our YouTube channel, and LinkedIn. And as always, take special care.